Welcome, and my name is Aarti. I work with WRI-India. I'm working on the innovation portfolio, but one of the projects that I do work very closely with is the India Forum for Nature-Based Solutions. We've been working on this coalition with some very crucial co-partners in this group. Some of them are here in this room with us today. We've been doing this for the past year, and we just want to share, before we start the PechaKucha session, we just want to share a little bit of what we've been doing for the past year and a couple of programs that we're looking to launch today as well. So who is the nature-based solution? Who is the India Forum for Nature-Based Solutions? And we are a coalition of research and practice organizations, and we've all got projects in this space. We've been working across both research and practice for NbS in cities across the country. And we identified some common challenges that we're all facing, across our organizations that we thought we could collectively tackle together in trying to address the challenges to scaling the adoption of NbS in cities. Why, like I said, we're looking specifically at the urban and India context. So we know that NbS, has a lot of traction in the rural spaces. It's looking a lot at sequestration and mitigation, but we want to talk about NbS specifically for cities, specifically for resilience and adaptation. We know there are challenges around, limited availability of land, competition for that land. O&M models in cities are not very transparent or straightforward. The financing is still skewed heavily towards sequestration. So, where does the finance come for both implementation and then the OpEx after? What are some of the frameworks for impact measurement, and how do you really coordinate with stakeholders? You have so much competition for urban land. There's so many different people who have a stake in that land as well. How do you kind of negotiate all of that towards implementing an NbS solution? And so we came together and we have a very lofty ambition. So we're looking to climate-proof 100 million residents and infrastructure worth 100 billion in Indian cities by 2030. And towards that, this past year, what we've essentially done is bring together, the core sort of partner organizations in this group. So we have the India Climate Collaborative, we have WWF India, we have GIZ, the Nature Conservancy, and Wetlands International. And most importantly, this is led, very closely by NIUA in partnership with us. So we kind of set up our governance structure. We have WRI and NIUA kind of guiding it through the secretariat. Our co-partners are, directing where and what kind of work we want to do as part of the steering committee. But the real work is happening in the 4 task forces that you see below. So we're looking at capacity building, we're looking at knowledge, private sector engagement, and collective building. And as part of the work that we've done in this past year, we sort of started off just kind of, understanding what our systems change framework looks like, where do we really want to position ourselves and leverage the kind of resources and experience that we have within this coalition. We don't want to get into the debate about, what is a nature-based solutions, but we do want to get into, what are the principles within NbS that we would like to support, and that is primarily, in ecological integrity and ecosystem benefits, community resilience and social benefits, and livelihoods and economic benefits. So we want to see solutions that have these, these principles and these benefits to them, and that's the kind of NbS that we would like to support. And we very, more importantly, also see NbS as part of an integrated city landscape. So we're not in competition with grey infrastructure. We see this more as, hybrid solutions that can work together towards achieving whatever resilience and adaptation requirements cities have. So, like I said, these are the 4 task forces. The capacity building task force is primarily working towards capacitating cities around adoption of NbS. So this is in terms of identifying the right solutions in the right context, and then how they could adopt them. So what might be some of the sort of operating procedures that would be required? How do city governments really kind of take on NbS as a solution type? In terms of knowledge, just addressing gaps in planning, execution, and monitoring. This would be more around relevant knowledge products. One of which we'll be launching today. Private sector engagement is, how do you really incentivize investment in the NbS space? So we're trying to sort of build confidence around NBS business models and kind of understanding what those multidimensional returns on investment look like for NBS solutions to help catalyze more investment in the space. And finally, collective building, where we're just kind of trying to develop what this identity for the forum is, who are the kind of stakeholders we need to be engaging, and in what formats. And so today, there are two sort of, one is something that's a work in progress, one is a new sort of research program that we'd like to launch. I'll just tell you a little bit about them before I invite our partners on stage to actually launch these. So the research program we're looking to launch is to support research in strengthening local knowledge and evidence that really situated within the local context of political, social, economic, and institutional structures. And this is a gap, like I said, that we'd identified as a group. So we narrowed it down to 3 topics, and we're going to be, it's going to be a renewing program. So every year we're going to launch 3 new topics to support. So this year, these are the 3 topics. One is a framework to help decide when and what kind of NBS solution to implement. The second is a landscape assessment for investment in NBS. And the third is an NBS sort of operations and maintenance toolkit. So these are small research small research topics we're going to be supporting under 8 lakhs or under a year's worth of work. We're looking to support, independent researchers, doctorate students, small research firms, or organizations. The RFPs will go live this week on WRI's LinkedIn and Twitter pages. We'll be sharing these on social media, so please keep an eye out for that. If you're interested in applying, the email is on the screen, so please take a photo of that. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you on this. And the second piece of work that we're looking to launch today is an online repository of cases. So we are bringing together, implementation that's happening across the country. We've been speaking to different organizations. We're looking for case studies from people in this room as well. If you think there's something innovative that you're doing in the nature-based solutions space, do write to us. We're happy to sort of, keep it. This is going to be a live repository, so we do want it to grow and become like a real resource for people to be able to tap into and understand what kind of NBS implementations happening in the country. The basic details that we're looking for are, what kind of NBS solution, the scale at which it's happening, what are the activities that have happened, the partners, the kind of funding sources, what the model was. So it's quite detailed, but we're hoping that will then be very helpful to to people who come in and use this repository. And with that said, I would like to invite some of our partners on stage. So we have Alpana Jain from the Nature Conservancy. We have Ravi Prakash from Wetlands International, and Victor Shinde from NIU. If you could just come on stage, we'll just quickly do the launch for the website.
Thank you very much, Aarti, and a very good evening to all of you. My name is Victor Shinde. I work at the National Institute of Urban Affairs, and NIUA is one of the partners for this, forum, that we have here. And I think, as a concept, we were very enthralled by what this forum has to offer, right? Okay, and I think this was done last year at the World Urban Forum, and when I took over as the head of Climate Center for Cities, this was brought to my attention as well, and we really saw a lot of potential, right? For 2 particular reasons, and I want to just quickly highlight those 2 reasons here. One is that nature-based solution is now becoming more and more mainstream. Okay, there's a lot of emphasis even within the government schemes, even within different missions, to promote, to promulgate nature-based solutions, right? So we are doing our part. So there is this River Cities Alliance that we have created. I talked about that in the last session. Okay, the whole idea about the River Cities Alliance is to arrive at solutions, to kind of protect the river and ensure that it is able to provide the ecosystem services, that it is supposed to, right? And here I think nature-based solutions play such an important role because we want to now move away from traditional or conventional approaches, which are typically engineering dominated, Not that engineering is bad. I think it has its own value, but kind of integrating and having more of a hybrid solutions to to managing the river. That's one. The other is that NIUA, we also kind of manage the climate smart city assessment framework, right? Where an assessment is made of well, in the latest round we have around 226 cities participating in that, and we evaluate the climate compatibility. How well they are responding to the impact of climate change, right? And it is here that we really see a value of pushing nature-based solutions, because this is something that our cities need, right? They will need it, of course, in different capacities. Not all cities, would perhaps have the same solution, but what we are trying to promote is the multi-dimensional nature of nature-based solutions, which essentially is what is required in our cities today. You can't have different solutions for different purposes, right? So it makes a lot of sense just to have one solution that can address a lot of these impacts, right? So I think within those premise, or with that as a premise, NIUA was very excited to be part of this forum, and we continue to be. We look at this forum as an enabling environment or an enabling ground to facilitate larger action in our cities, either through the River Cities Alliance or through the Climate City Assessment Framework. But the bottom line is, we are actually looking at on-the-ground implementation and on-the-ground change, right? So with that, I think, unfortunately, our director could not join today. He was supposed to be here, but I think his message also going to be the same, that it's just a delight to be part of this forum, and we excitedly look forward to how things unfold here. Thank you.
So without further ado, we will get to the exciting part of today's session, the PechaKucha. So I'm just going to call out the names. I know we have 11 organizations, so kind of put you in random order. Edible roots.
The average distance food travels in India is about 800 kilometers. 35% of the food that we grow goes to waste because of logistical issues or transport challenges, or because it's just not being carried properly. Delhi produces about 8,000 tons of waste on a daily basis, of which about 60 to 70% is biodegradable, is compostable. These are the problems that we are facing today as a society. We also know the amount of chemicals, pesticides, adulteration that's happening with the food that we eat today. This was not the case about 70, 80 years ago. This happened over time as the distance between the food we eat has increased from where it's grown. The distance is what led to all the chemicals, all the adulteration, all the losses that happen with the food that we eat. The simple act of growing your own food, whether it's a small pot in a balcony or a rooftop or a backyard, is the first step towards bringing this connection back. What we lost over the years is we don't know who was growing our food, where and how. When we take the first step of growing our own food, through that, not only we start building the connection back with the food that we are eating, but also we start appreciating the environment a bit more. We are more conscious of the air around us, of the water around us, of the pollution around us. Also, we are more conscious now of everything that we eat on a day-to-day basis, even though it's bought from the market. We try to build a connection with the farmer so that more of the food that we eat is known to us. The seed lies in growing your own food. Edible Roots started about 8 years ago in Delhi by doing workshops around training people on kitchen gardens, growing your own food. Kitchen gardens can be on a balcony, a rooftop, or a backyard, or any space that you get sunlight in and around where you live. These are some examples of gardens that we have made over the years. Various kinds of materials like bricks, bamboo, recycled and upcycled containers, self-watering containers are what have been used to meet the specific needs of a particular client in whatever situation they live or how much they can attend to their garden. The second thing that we do as an organization is we have farmlets at 3 farms across Delhi NCR right now. The idea here is that not everybody has the luxury of a space within or around their house. These are like your kitchen gardens, but away from your home. 1200 square feet allotments, mini farms where you can come and engage as much as you like, and the day-to-day care is taken by our team. This is your way to connect more and grow more of your food from where you live, and they're pretty close by around you. These are the 2 farms that I'm showing here. One is near Gurgaon, the one on the right, and the one on the left is in Chhatarpur. The idea here is to have 1200 square feet, which is just about the right amount of space for a family of 3 to 4 to grow their fresh requirements on a monthly basis. The third thing that we do as an organization is also work on large pieces of land around cities, but also in rural areas, to again design them ecologically and also using the science of permaculture. It's a design science based on nature. We observe nature, we understand the principles of design, how nature designs, and then apply those in our design process on a conscious basis. We also include the native ecology. We do a lot of plantations nowadays, we plant lots of trees, but we forget the native species, the native shrubs, the native grasses, the native trees. These are also integrated because through these the flora and the fauna of the local region are integrated. And that's how the whole ecosystem comes alive. Finally, we do lots of workshops and training to educate children, youth and adults. And this is the impact we have done over the last 8 years. 1,500 kitchen gardens, farmlets, 300 farmlets, clients, over 500 acres of ecologically designed lands, and 20,000 people trained in the act of growing your own food. This is a case study which is also, I just saw on the website that we just launched. And this is a garden that we made in Bombay at the Scouts and Guides Center. It was a vacant space lying. It used to be a play area, but now it has been abandoned in some sense. It was not being utilized. So we converted that entire area into a kitchen garden. All the students who come for their training at the Scout and Guide Center, the teachers as well as the supervisors at the center go through the same training and learn the act of growing their own food. Thank you.
Thank you, Kapil. Next, we have Blue Drop NbS.
Good afternoon, good evening. So this is what we are set out here for, and we have been talking about nature-based solutions and applications. Blue Drop NbS has been practicing this for past 7 years. I lived in the US for a decade. I'm a green card holder, returned to India. Wanting to do something for the environment, so got into sustainability space, traveled around 6 lakh kilometers, only to understand how unsustainable our systems have been. This is a major fact that we have to take note, that we are the 6th largest contributors while treating the wastewater across the world for the greenhouse gas emissions and the carbon. So any solution that we are talking sustainability, it has to have these 3 things: the environmental sustainability, social acceptability, economic viability. Unless we focus on sustainable solutions, focusing on emissions, we are not really doing what is needed for our planet Earth and for cities. This is the state of affairs of our current sewage treatment plants, effluent treatment plants, very sad state. It cannot be challenged because it's published by CPCB in the personal experience of a lot of people. So now we see these are the systems that we are talking about that are largely deployed. Nothing wrong with it, but something is wrong. Represent maintenance, skilled workforce, high energy bills, sludge handling, odor, noise, and less effective lifespan. You don't have to ask where STP is in a campus. Your nose takes you straight to the STPs, GPS, right? If you build an STP in a plot and ask people to buy a plot next door, nobody will buy. That tells the story of what our current systems are. And we're looking at only L1, lowest cost. But what is the cost of environment? Did we factor that? That's why we ended up here, where we are, with a lot of floods and droughts. So we are looking at energy footprint as a major criteria. Along with that, we have other challenges. We cannot live in an ideal world. We are in urban spaces. We have very limited space. So our nature-based solutions have to be fit into our current lifestyle and also function and deliver the duties. So we'll have to balance between the both sides of the world. Nature-based solutions, just I was talking to one of our colleagues here. He was making a statement that these things don't work. So I was surprised I didn't have a time to discuss, but anyway, I'll show it now. What are the limitations? Are there limitations? Constructed wetlands as sewage treatment plants have been across the world rampantly growing in the past 40 years. People have deployed so much of them. India has not adopted enough. And whatever we have adopted, we find many of the systems defunct, not functioning. What is the problem? Design, engineering. Science is ancient. The plants and microbes, they do their job free of cost, God given. But we need to engineer the systems to deliver our NGT norms or CPCB norms or whatever reuse purposes that we need to deliver with these plants. So, I'm not talking all of the data that is out there because of the time that I'm given. So you can take a note of that. We have moved on from the passive wetlands that do not use energy. We have built 65 of them and realized that our urban spaces are not ready for that. Every square yard goes for 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees. So how do we capture the space? So we need to be very economical on the space utilization. So we ventured into hybrid systems where we have highly engineered them, provided the advantage of the conventional system of the aeration, but we use very little energy, as low as 20% of the energy that a conventional system uses, but delivers a great deal of efficiency and control. So you can see the disadvantages what we found out, not necessarily for all the cases, but when you have lesser space, when you compromise on the design, when you don't understand things, people move away from nature-based solutions that are God's gift. We are bringing this back, and there are several warriors that are working with us. So when we go, this is the technology that we are talking about, that this microerosion at the bottom of the wetland is providing for great deal of treatment and nutrient reduction. That is what is required for our urban cities now, so that the water bodies and nalas, when discharged into this, don't get further damaged. I will show you a quick video of this, how this system works. You can see these plants. This is just a demo. A fully developed site will look differently. This is the kind of aeration we are talking about. Every inch is aerated, but with only 20% of energy. So these are low maintenance systems. The gardener can maintain them. Really not much to do around this. These are sustaining for 30 years. We have built more than 35 systems in the last 4 years. This is how the urban STP looks like, right next to the bedrooms and balconies. These guys here, they see the STP as a good morning image, right next to their balconies. No odor, least noise, and of course you can see a conventional system. That's about it. I think I'm unable to make the slide move. So yeah, this is something that you want to know. Without economical viability, there is no nature-based solution. India is not ready to spend $1 billion like organic vegetables for 50 rupees. We cannot spend 150 rupees. It needs to be economical. These are the economics of a conventional system versus a nature-based solution. The impacts are here. We can take a note. Thank you very much for the limited time, but we hope to explore more.
Thank you so much. Next we have Sponge Collaborator. I'm sorry for rushing you all, but we have 10 solution providers. We really need to fit everyone in.
Hello everyone, I'm Manishi Ashwajit, one of the directors at Sponge Collaborative. We are an interdisciplinary strategic planning and design firm based out of Bangalore and Chennai. And we're called Sponge Collaborative because we promote the Sponge City approach. Our main objective is to mainstream nature-based solutions to promote climate resiliency, especially in India, by promoting strategic basin planning approach and focusing on water-sensitive urban design. So our main objective is to mainstream nature-based solutions to promote climate resiliency, especially in India, by strategic basin planning on water-sensitive urban design, and also mainstreaming blue-green infrastructure planning on multiple scales from regional to site-specific scales. Now I'll just run through a range of our projects on building water-sensitive cities and urban resilience. Now, back in 2018, we developed the Sponge Handbook Chennai. The idea for this handbook was to serve as a tool for policymakers and planners to build capacity. And as part of this, we created a catalog of blue-green infrastructure toolkits for streets and open spaces. And we factored in many parameters such as stakeholders, suitability factors, limitations, and performative ability. Now, post this, we were able to make a lot of headway with the local authorities, and we started exploring projects on basin scale. So we prepared this Arya Basin vision that ties urban growth with ecological rejuvenation at a metropolitan scale. Now, Arya River is one of the most urbanized and polluted rivers in Chennai, and it faces frequent flooding, sewage disposal, encroachment, many such issues like all our Indian rivers. And we created an ecological vision that can influence long-term metropolitan planning frameworks and identify short and medium-term pilot projects within it. And this was done through a multi-sectoral lens. So we held a lot of workshops, we did data gathering, synthesis and analysis, and we developed an integrated framework for the river. We identified the river in transects, and then we demonstrated pilot projects and showed how the Adya River can become a very resilient and water-sensitive urbanization tool. Now, jumping from the basin scale to a neighborhood scale, this is a project where Greater Chennai Corporation engaged us to actually test the feasibility of blue-green infrastructure and nature-based solutions within the Kosastaliyar Basin's integrated stormwater drainage project. Now, the feasibility of BGI is evaluated through a study of land uses and detailed mapping of the land cover using GIS and CAD. We did ground truthing and we studied the street profiles, we surveyed the open spaces. And we kind of came up with the impact of BGI by quantifying it through detailed runoff coefficients of granular and land cover data and dynamic modeling of the stormwater interception. Now, taking this forward, we made assessments and identified sponge streets and open spaces. And within that, this is an existing scenario of the current fabric, and this is what the proposed scenario would look like. Now, through the Spun City framework, we can effectively increase the design capacity of the stormwater conduits to handle 5-year return periods and 25-year return period storm by actually reducing the peak runoff volume and the flow rates through these blue-green systems that we're proposing. Now, this is a very cost-effective way in managing larger storm events. To get into a more detailed scale and a pilot scale, within the same framework, we identified a pilot site, which is an abandoned football ground. And we transformed it into a multifunctional green system to enhance biodiversity, a blue system to manage stormwater, and a social system through promoting programs such as sports activities, play areas, and OATs, making it usable for all age groups. We also did community engagement and got community buy-in for these programming and came up with a detailed habitat for flora and fauna planning. And we also demonstrated how this would perform during a cloudburst scenario. Through berming and bunding techniques, we can grade the park to channelize the drainage and manage overflows. We proposed a series of 4-bays, swales, infiltration basins, and rain gardens to actually handle the different storm periods. And with this, it's come to the end of my presentation. These are also some other large-scale climate park and wetland park projects that we're implementing by using the nature-based solution approach. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Pooja Tendulkar from Lemnion Green Solutions. I will be talking about a story today, and this is the story of River Kamandalu. And this project was done in Maharashtra, in a place called Kauthemankar, close to Sangli district. And in this particular project, we rejuvenated a 2-kilometer river stretch, and the project went on for 4 months. We did this with Mr. Rohit Patil, who is a local politician. And also, it was funded by Agrani Foundation, and Lemnion actually helped in designing, planning, and executing the entire project. This is something that I want you guys to remember until the end of the presentation, because you'll be seeing a transformation at the end of it. So this is how the river looked like when we started the work. And in the first picture, as you can see, is the usual thing that happens with most of the rivers in India. But this particular place is a drought-prone area, so there was hardly any water in the river. So this is basically a rain-fed river. So most of the water usually used to drain down into the bigger river, because this is a river tributary. So that was another challenge that we had to face here. One was addressing the drought problem, and another was the wastewater inlets that actually came into the river. And because of the wastewater problem, another thing that you can see in another picture is the invasive plants. We call it a stypha. And so basically, these were the 2 problems that we had to address. So we actually started with stakeholder mapping, where we understood who the stakeholders are. There were ULBs, there were local residents, there were local politicians, also shopkeepers, and people who were actually dependent on the river for their occupation. So this is something that we understood, and we decided what are going to be the steps that we are going to require to follow the rejuvenation process. So this is where the work began. This used to be a daily picture where there used to be 40 women working on actually separating every bit of the taifa that we harvested. And it was distributed into 3 different sections: the roots, the stem, and the flower heads. And they were made into biochar based products where these 40 women were employed for the period of 4 months. It was very crucial for them because this was right after COVID and there were hardly any employment opportunities there in the area. This is like a peri-urban space. So this is something that we could do at the end of the project. Okay. Another thing that we did right after taking out the invasive plant species were the bank stabilization part. And since this is a drought prone area, we tried working on the cross section area where we could hold water. We could also stabilize the banks of the river using coil linings, using the sludge that we took out from the river, which was nutrient rich, and also doing a couple of plantations on top of it so that the soil holding will happen nicely, and there will be soil erosion control as well. Here we could employ men. And something that we understood during the stakeholder mapping was that the locals were experts in doing stone related work, especially stone pitching, making structures out of loose boulders. So I think that was a brownie point for us here that we could find during the survey that we did. And you can see in the picture as well that they're making a couple of structures. And we got a lot of help from NAM Foundation, which is another local organization, and from the local stakeholders, which provided us with the earth mover and the excavators. So a lot of wastewater came in from the nearby areas, and we actually put in situ water treatment systems very close to the river, which helped in water treatment. We also made similar in-stream structures along the river, which helped in flow regulation, which also helped in filtration and habitat building. Along with the execution program, we did a lot of capacity building programs along with the locals for them to understand the rejuvenation project. We also did plantation where we could actually sequester about 1.2 lakhs metric tons of carbon. This is what we assume will happen, and this is how the plantation looks like now. You can also see a couple of dragonflies and some insects. And this is one of the water treatment systems that we made, which is an in-situ water treatment. We made around 10 water treatment systems. This is how we could hold the water. Businesses like fishing and a lot of vendors started emerging. This is how the picture looks like, the first picture that you saw in slide 1. The water started flowing nicely, the dissolved oxygen was 7 ppm. And this is another picture. Thank you so much for listening.
Namaste, my name is Tanmay. I'm the co-founder and CEO of NV. And today my goal is to excite you about the power of people coming together for environmental action. Imagine a world where 10x of the ideas that you just heard today are being implemented. A million or a billion of individuals have the power to start a rejuvenation project for river, plant forests, or build lakes. Sounds like an absurd idea for us today, but we are on a mission to make it a reality. NV is a community platform built by the communities and for the communities, where we are bringing together the individuals, organizations, and communities and giving them a platform to help them start, scale, and implement environmental actions. Based on our mission, we are built by the community. A group of senior experts and environmentalists across India come together and are building this platform. Started as a small project at IIIT Delhi, but then later evolved into a much bigger community initiative. But what exactly is the problem today, and what is it that we are trying to solve? 81% of India today are worried about climate change, and more than 49% say that they are already being affected by climate change. But if you look closely to this problem, you'll realize, and if you ask yourself and try to observe, you'll see that the easy modes to work for environment today does not exist. We draw our inspiration from our own history. Way back in 1973-78, India was witnessing two unique environmental movements. In a world of no internet, no Wikipedia, no massive knowledge repositories, the Chipko and Apiko movement were live examples of how communities were coming together to protect their natural habitat. We're trying to do something similar, and we see four key problems: discovery, skills, finance, and tech. Discovery: how many of you today know how many environment projects are running near you? We know how many restaurants that there are. Skills: supporting the projects who are working on the ground with the skills they need. Tech: making project implementation easier for project coordinators who are working in distant and spread across different geographies. And finance: still many projects across India are either self-funded or dependent upon traditional modes of financing. How do we diversify that? At NbS, our solution is really simple. We do two simple things. One, we become a digital infrastructure for environmental action. Today, if you're an NGO, you can come on NbS and list down your projects. Create a portfolio of your projects across different spectrums. And then whenever somebody asks you, tell me about yourself, you can just share a single link across all of your projects are shared. Now, think of it X million, wherein a million of those organizations are coming in, pushing their projects. Imagine the scalability of that. So we become a digital infrastructure for projects and give them a space wherein they can not only showcase their projects, help the community discover them better, and give them a platform wherein they can data and more information can be flown into. We are evolving projects than a PDF. And then the second part, which is the most exciting part, is we are building a serious community of funders, volunteers, and experts who are coming together to support these initiatives. And we are making climate action easy and accessible for everybody. NbS Actions is currently live and open for public. We are currently buzzing with projects, and we invite you to join the platform. We are on a mission to bring people together for environment actions, and we're making it simple and accessible for everybody. Very senior organizations have currently joined the platform and are currently pushing their projects, and there's a lot to learn from their work. If you're somebody who is working for environment on the grassroots, we would love to talk to you, and let's get together and weave a million environment initiatives. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Roshni. I'm from an organization called Yuva. We're based in Mumbai. We're a grassroots 40-year-old organization primarily working in urban poor communities, slums, or what we call bastis. Today I'll talk to you about a nature-based placemaking initiative that we've been doing over the last almost a year and a half in partnership with WRI and other stakeholders in the city of Mumbai. Laluvai compound is actually a resettlement colony in a ward called M East, which has one of the lowest human development indicators in Mumbai, eastern part of Mumbai. And it's actually a place where people who have been evicted from different parts of the city and resettle there. So vertical slums is what it's called. And it was built on an old factory land. So a lot of concretization foundations were already there. I think in one picture, I hope to transport you to Laluvai compound. This is how the resettlement colonies are. They are not just because somebody has a toilet inside their house, it doesn't mean the livability has increased. The buildings are very poorly constructed. Solid waste is a huge issue. And this is the space that we work in. Heat stress, huge concretization, very poor solid waste, like I said, and absence of open spaces. And because people evicted from different bastis have been sort of thrown in together, there's lack of social cohesion and this whole idea of building relationships. And the way the buildings have been constructed also adds to a lot of lack of social networking. And over the past several years, substance abuse, particularly among young people post-pandemic, has increased very high. Laluvai compound also has a high rate of tuberculosis, one of the highest in the whole city because of the density. The site we chose is about 1,000 square kilometers. As you can see, mostly put to disuse. In the evenings, it becomes an adda for drugs and young men. And this was a site that we chose, and I'll a little bit explain how we chose it. The approach was really a nature-based plus a place-making initiative. So we had WRI to really support in the nature-based work, and Yuva being in the community for over, I think, 20, 30 years, really has an idea of the locals there and the dynamics there, and we specifically work with the Baladikar Sangharsh Sangathan, who's a children's collective. Children leaders who actually decide what they want. So they were also the ones who really gave the go-ahead for this site, and with a series of co-design workshops is how we decided what to do in this site. In terms of nature-based work, we really looked at what was existing, doing soil testing, local species. This is all new for community-based organization, and an agency like WRI was able to really bring that in. And then everybody got their hands dirty because that's what we all like to do. In terms of the participatory placemaking, really looking at Baladikars, the BASS or Baladikar Sangharsh Sangathan started reaching out to say the society members, the federations, who are the women's groups, who are the local leaders to really bring everybody together, because that's the only way we can actually look at ownership. So if we want to talk about bottom up, I might, as one collective, I might have an idea that this is what I want to claim, but I have to get the buy-in from everybody else, particularly because it's a children's-led initiative. You need, of course, support from elders. And also, one of the main things I wanted to say that we just don't want to plant trees here, or we just don't want this to be a space, with flowers. We really need to move beyond that and see how this can become a safe space for us to really claim that and do the whole participatory placemaking that we're talking about. So a little bit of a before and an after. There's not enough time to show you a lot of photos, but a lot of the young men, for instance, who were part of the substance abuse, finally, after many months, 6 to 8 months, actually started coming along and saying, we will help you. Now study classes are happening. It's really, really rejuvenated the entire space. The young people decided what kind of paintings they want. They wanted in their community to see, I want to be able to think that this is a forest, because there's no way I can go to a forest. Almost done. I think one of the big takeaways for us is that a huge sense of ownership from the community because of the process-driven time that we spent, and really converging NbS with placemaking had not only ecological impacts but social and cultural benefits, which I think is a huge takeaway for us. And once this is done, everybody's like, come to our area and do it. Let's work this, BASS wants to do it in 3 other areas. This is Priyanka, who's a leader, and for whom that space is really transformed. She's really led this process, and I think this is just one way. It's really the potential of working in this way, very ground up, looking at the local collectives that exist and overlaying an NbS process there. There are challenges working in different types of informal settlements. One is the structural nature. Waste management continues to be a huge issue, and that's actually a cause of many of the impacts of flooding because there is no percolation, as well as all the governance conflicts. I've really not had a chance to look at it. But moving ahead, I think the maintenance, the ownership, which right now the societies is taking, they're doing the watering and all of that, is something that we need to trial test for another few years to make sure that it stays and it remains strong. There's now the hope and the plan to do another 2,000 square kilometers and really claim that as well. But most importantly, in any NbS placemaking, integrating the long-term shifts, particularly things like solid waste, what are the safe spaces for vulnerable groups. I think the more we can layer, the more it becomes deeper, but also long-term and like a real model that we can hopefully take to not just other places in Mumbai and Nalubai compound, but across the country as well.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Prashant, and I am thrilled to represent Clean Water here. In the next 3 minutes and 45 seconds, I will be sharing with you our innovation vision and market potential. So let's get started. Before we get into it, a brief introduction. Clean Water, established in 2016, based in Indore and driven by passion, started as a sewage treatment plant designer. But our founder and CEO, Mr. Priyanshu Kumar, later realized how our water bodies in India are highly neglected and in a dire need of restoration. So in 2017, we started the development for floating wetlands. So starting with the problems parts, what kind of problems our waste bodies exactly are facing right now? To just sum it up in brief, issues faced by our water bodies include encroachment, water pollution leading to water scarcity, methane emissions and stagnant water contributing to climate change, and health, all of that leading to health hazards and economic loss. Now that we have established the problems, now let's look at the current solutions, the solutions that are available to us right now. Let's say you might argue that we have sewage treatment plants and all that. Why do we need such an extensive system apart from that? Now the problem with sewage treatment plants is that it requires a lot of area and also a high capex, has a high capex and opex. But thanks to the encroachment that has taken place all around, we do not have that much space, right? So that, and also they also let a lot of chemicals into the water even after treating them, and they have no real answer for the new and upcoming microplastic contamination. And then we have PVC islands. Yes, granted they are like a first step towards what we have right now, but they are weak and incomplete, and they are known to contaminate the water with microplastics. Right. So moving on to our innovations, our technology. So floating islands is nothing but a modular island made out of materials like aluminum, wood, stainless steel, FRP even, and with plants on top of it, and of course floating in water, and the roots of plants in contact with the water. So this is basically a bioremediation method wherein aerators and practical media along with floating islands work in tandem to treat water naturally. So this is a little illustration that actually shows our innovation, our technology in action. So bacteria and plants work in tandem to actually pick up all the organic and organic pollutants, or even the excess nutrients, and also they compete with the weeds and algae, forcing it to receive, right? In turn, cleaning the water. And aerators are simply a cherry on top. They increase the dissolved oxygen by circulating water. Ultimately, our floating islands don't just clean the water, they are restoring the water body by helping the biodiversity flourish. As you can see at the bottom, we have attached four pictures of biodiversity actually taking shelter in our islands, and on top you will see two of our before and after, and a stark difference. And right. Our impacts are very much tangible and noticeable. From beautification of the landscapes to biodiversity proliferation, we are essentially turning liabilities to assets, and our solutions cater to 10 out of 17 sustainable development goals. So that's that. Now let's talk about some numbers. Market sizing of urban, rural, stagnant water bodies. We have recognized that we have identified about there is about 7,000 crore square kilometers of total surface water area available in India. That is our total addressable market. But out of which only about 1,484 crore square meter is what we can service and address in the future. But only about 148 crore square kilometers is the surface area that we can address right now at our current capabilities. And the numbers that you are seeing in the bottom left and right, these are based on our previous projects. We've been in Right. I'll finish up. So a strong product market fit. Why is it viable? It's viable because of huge market size. It is feasible because of its high scalability and low maintenance, and it is desirable because it is essentially converting liabilities into assets. We started off with direct sales. We bootstrapped our way to distributors, and now we are moving on to a RaaS model, restoration as a service model, wherein we will lease water bodies and build capabilities on top of it for revenue generation. This is our timeline. We started in 2016. Now, in January 2023, we had our first round of funding, and in March 2024, our financial year we'll end up this financial year with 1 crore plus revenue. And these are some of the continuous innovation. I am working very closely with this, including IoT and other materials. And this is just again some numbers. We have generated about 1.5 crores in revenues till now, and installed 55 plus floating islands covering 12 plus cities and 16 types of floating islands. and more than 30 projects have been done by Clean Water. And our CEO and founder, Priyanshu Kumar, has actually been titled the Water Hero by Jal Shakti Mantralaya, among other awards. And yeah, we've already raised 50 lakhs at a valuation of 20 million USD, and that's Clean Water for you all. These are a few photos of Mr. Priyanshu Kumar, CEO and founder. Thank you very much for it.
We have standardized the process of rainwater harvesting from roof, roads, and underground water by all systems. So I'll just take you quickly. So one of the things that we have transformed is the narrative. We have changed the narrative from pollution control to conservation. So this was very essential if we really wanted to transform, and that was the reason in 4 years I could only do 5 projects, and in next 4 years I could do more than 300 projects because of this. So, and all these projects are not an NGO-like project, they are commercial projects where the owners have paid for them. When we have started changing the narrative on why conservation is important. So, just a context I am giving you from Shimla city. So, 150 years old ago, the water used to come right in the city. Right now, it's coming nearly 150 kilometers away from the city. That's a very big problem. 50 years down the line, there won't be any solution if we don't do conservation right now. We do 3 things like I told, from rainwater from the roof, rainwater from roads and drains, which are basically storm water, and third thing is rain gardens, which we come from soils. There are bodies out there in hills, there's slope stabilization, stuff like that. So this is our proprietary patented 9-step rainwater harvesting project. This has been awarded with UNESCO's Best Initiative in Rainwater Harvesting globally. And with this we make something called, I will come in the next slide quickly, so convert rainwater to drinking water. So one of the problems that we solve is, we have made rainwater profitable entity. So basically we call it net water positive. It's a component of net zero, and institution, even a hotel and industry can completely survive with water. This is the second thing what we are doing, which is part of this is transformation. We are changing the narrative from the conservation, but both for the individuals, industries, factories, households, and even for cities. Yeah, so this is just some context on what happens, what is it? This is the second component on pollution control. This is how in hills the drains are made, the so-called urbanization and channelization, what NIU is proposing, which I am totally against it. But we have made natural stormwater filters, which mimic the natural, it's a part of biomimicry. We have mechanized it without any machinery recurring cost. They are stormwater filters, and we are promoting that they should be installed like dustbins in drains, the way it's being done. And the next thing down, this is a very interesting picture on rain gardens. So this is basically a mycorrhizia, a sponge for mushroom in simple terms, a basic thing. So forests are currently taken as plants, trees, but they are not this. They are complete living entity communicating and talking within themselves. So we are making rain gardens or landscape, which is actually natural. So I will take you in the context. So there are a lot of things we do, like bioswales and lots of things. I will just give you context because we are in Delhi. I had a webinar with someone. If anyone goes to Cannot Place, I say everyone has killed Cannot Place, because they have made plants in planters covered by cemented things. Now they are dead. Unless you don't water them, unless you don't put mud to them, in 10-15 days, 1 month, they will die. They are not natural plants anymore. They are just artificial entities which we have put. Natural thing will survive in itself. That's what is rain gardens. So we have commercially made rain gardens which are surviving for 3-4 years in commercial projects without even putting 1 drop of water extra. We are only surviving on this. This was one of our very interesting projects with the government. So this is Himachal Pradesh University. So that's conserving annually about 2 crore liters of water, and around 300 to 400 students of law faculty and arts block are completely getting water from this rain garden. And that's flowing storm water. This is also one of a very premium project which we had done. So they had consultants right from architects from Delhi and everywhere. So we suggested them go from a natural based solution. So this is, if you see, this one is a very interesting picture. We are promoting natural khadanja, it's a local term, where we promote natural drainage, which is recharging and recycling the entire system. Just a context and small thing. So this is the step we do and how we go ahead with that. So thank you so much. If you don't do water harvesting now, we will be eating more of microplastics. Thank you so much.
Very good evening, all of you.
So I'm Neeru from Unity Trust. Unity Trust is a community-based largest organization working towards plantation and conservation of trees. So till date, we have planted around 22.7 million trees across countries. Apart from this, we are working towards nature education by organizing workshops with school, colleges, and corporate entities. So our founder is Mr. Swami Prem Parivartan. Basically, people knows him as a people baba. So people baba is planted and conserve over 1.27 crore people trees and continue to do every day. So that's why people has given him a name of people baba. So our mission is increasing the tree population and native trees cover of country and through plantation preservation and conservation programs, and to create awareness through education programs and create an army of green volunteers. Our vision is to bring at least 50% of urban and rural spaces under green cover by increasing biodiversity through nature education, green scale programs, and on-field activities for school, colleges, universities, CSR partners, collaborations to maximize citizen involvement, and to spread awareness and love for flora and fauna with special focus on children and youth. So our objectives are also aligned with our vision and mission. There are so many objectives. We have also listed on our website. You can go through it. These are our main area of work. In that we create afforestation sites at pan-India level. So in detail I want to discuss afforestation projects. In that we identify barren lands in various urban areas or in even rural areas also, and there we create mini forest. So our process of mini forest creation is we select native species. We have our own environment experts team. They decide the native species for plantation, and according to their suggestion, we plant species in like 4x4 method, and we create dense forest there. After plantation, we maintain this forest for 3 years. We are having our own field team. They maintain our forest for 3 years. They take care of trees for 24/7, and they do watering, manuring, mulching of trees. Apart from this, we create urban green spaces. We do restoration of grassland and ponds. Massive compost network we are having. We create vermicompost, and that vermicompost we use at our plantation site. We also conduct environment education programs with volunteers, with RWAs, with nearby communities to a project, and with school children and colleges. We also work on water harvesting structures. So these are our strengths. We are having largest volunteer base, that is of 17,000 working volunteers we are having. We have dedicated field teams on field. We have pan-India presence. Apart from this, we do skill enhancement through workshops and internship. We do community engagement, and we are having largest experience of 45 years. So I'll skip the achievements because this is also listed on our website. These are a few of our community engagement programs. So we conduct online and offline programs on education, nature education. So we do waste management programs, tree extraction drives, nursery development workshops, seed collection drives, nature and bird walk, compost making workshops, waste making workshops, bioenzyme workshops. This is one of our site located in Sotha in Noida. So we have started this site in 2017. So we got the barren land from Noida authority. and we have created a good dense forest there. You people also can come there and enjoy this site, and you can do nature walk and bird watching. So this is one of site located in Chhatarpur, Delhi, in Lucknow, Noida. So these are few of our CSR partners. We are working with NCR, Honeywell, EXA, EXL. So there are approx 150 partners. So they are working with us. These are few pictures of our plantation sites and our volunteer activities. Thank you.
Hi, good evening once again. This is Pratik Tiwari here. Get fascinated by the Lockies. Okay, I don't think so. We'll waste time in crying about the pain part. All of us know about it, and that's the reason why we are here. So let's switch gears and let's hit the ground. So we're talking about growing vegetables without using any soil on the rooftops. And what are the benefits? Of course, it absorbs carbon dioxide and produces oxygen. Now, here we bring an element of circularity. What you eat, what you waste, and you convert that again into biofertilizer, and then again you grow something, and then again, so that's a circular cycle. You grow vegetable, then you are composting the vegetable waste, and then again you are growing vegetable. Then you can, of course, passively cool the buildings, create jobs for urban youth, and of course, most importantly, grow fresh organic vegetables. So I want to show a vision in front of you. If just 10% of the city's rooftops could be converted into organic farms, see the magic on the screen. 3,000 tons of organic vegetables could be produced on those 10% rooftops. 22,000 square meters of green cover could be created, which is equal to 3,000 football fields. 15,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide could be sequestered, which is equal to emissions of 3,000 cars. 8,500 tons of oxygen can be produced. Please remember, I am only talking about 10% of the city's rooftops getting converted into organic farms, and that's the magic that you get. I am not even talking about the remaining 90%. So this is a message to the city decision makers. See the magic there, and you can create employment for 1,500 youth. So this is a product. It's called a portable farming system. It's a plug-and-play farming system. It's a complete farming system. It is filled with a soilless organic medium. It has its own drip irrigation system, its own subsurface drainage system. We sold tons of it during COVID. It's self-installable. Anybody can install it. People of the age of 76, 77 years of age could install it during COVID by themselves. And then we are also doing organic farming on land. Now this is something that I want to bring into this discussion, the magic of green walls. See, plants can do a lot. So once again, they can absorb carbon dioxide. More importantly, when you are growing plants inside your building, you are also absorbing a lot of VOCs, volatile organic compounds. You're passively cooling the building. You're absorbing a lot of noise. I think we've become a very noisy civilization. And you can filter a lot of indoor air. And most importantly, when you're increasing the oxygen levels inside your building, you are reducing the lactic acid production in your muscles. In layman's terms, what it means is that you're becoming your workforce is becoming more efficient. You are feeling less lethargic. Now, this is a whole new concept that we want to bring in, and this is what this is my dream. My dream is that we are not going to have any billboards ever. We are going to have billboards where we'll talk through plants. And once again, the benefit is they're going to purify air, and they can be placed in high traffic density areas. Green branding can become an option using these billboards. It's a very innovative way of catching eyeballs. Again, noisy civilization. And this can also remove bad smells. So now this is the Hindustan Petroleum campus in Mumbai, in Chembur, and I'm very proud to share with you that this is one of the very few platinum rated campuses in Mumbai by the Indian Green Building Council, and we have created 2,000 square feet of green walls for them. These are high density green walls. This is a project that I love. We did school farming in the Collector Colony BMC school. You see that circular badge? Trust me, you should see the smile on the children's faces when they wear that badge. Because out of 180 students, only 20 students got selected for the school farming club. So they wear that badge very proudly. And we also gave them a certificate. And very recently on 15th of July, the Minister of Education for Maharashtra, he inaugurated this project for terrace farming at the Bullen Mills BMC school. So this is what Mr. Kumbar, the IAS officer in the morning, he was alluding to. We are taking this to 250 schools. So 250 schools will not only receive organic farming education, the vegetables that will get produced from their terraces will also contribute to their midday meal program. So it's a two-in-one benefit. So we did this in slums. This is the Central Jail project that I was talking about. A lot of people met me today and said, "Hum aapke saath jail chalna chahte hain," which is they are most welcome to do that. And this was also covered by the local newspaper, very popular Rajasthan Patrika. And we have set up an urban farming center for the government of Telangana. This is going to be a model urban farming center where citizens of Hyderabad would be invited and shown how you can grow vegetables on the terrace. Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you.
So I'd just like to call Tini, our global head for communications and engagement, just to kind of pull together, I think, just close the session and tell you a little bit about the Ross Prize for cities as well.
Can you hear me now? Yes, wonderful. Okay. All right, well, thank you. And please bear with me for those who were in the morning session. But I wanted really to use this opportunity to be able to talk to this group. In fact, you're actually the group I've been looking for this whole session, this whole Karo. Because what you have talked about today, the ideas that you've had, the communities that you've had impact on, that's actually what I'm looking for. I wanted to talk to you today about an initiative that we have at WRI Ross Center for Sustainable Cities. It's a project that we have been working on for the last 5 years, focused on looking for identifying urban innovation that's happening around the world. We work on about 100 cities in the world, but we know that innovation is happening in many, many more places than that. And because of that, we created the WRI Ross Center Prize for Cities. It's a global competition that is looking for leaders who have made impact on their communities, leaders who have transformed their communities. We know that projects around the world, sometimes they get overlooked. It's hard to see innovation. Sometimes I think cities get a bad rap. But really what we're seeing in cities is incredibly smart, innovative, interesting, different ideas that are changing people's lives on the ground. And that's why we created this prize. We really want to be able to find those stories and bring them out to a broader audience. Really be able to show people that innovation is repeatedly happening throughout, and inspire others with the stories that you are all part of in changing your communities. I want to talk a little bit about the way that we look at urban transformation. What is that? What does that mean? What are we looking for? We're looking for the big ideas. Many of you in this room this afternoon brought to light the big idea. What is it? What's that interesting thing that you're doing that others aren't doing? We're looking for not only the idea, though, we're looking for the impact. What changes have you made in your community? What changes, lasting changes that you made in people's lives and in their communities? And then finally, we want to be able to see a demonstration of the ripple effects of your idea. Has it moved beyond your neighborhood? Has it moved beyond your city? Has it inspired others? I wanted to share with you that in the last 5 years, it's been 3 cycles that we've gone through. from 2018 until this last year. We've had 700 plus applications from around the world. As you can tell from all these dots, we are seeing innovation practically everywhere in the world. We've had 328 cities represented in these 700 plus applications. We're talking about 90 countries. We have had applications from essentially every continent in the world. This is to say that innovation is happening everywhere. This last cycle, we focused on looking for projects that allow communities to thrive together during turbulent times. We've lived through a pandemic and much worse, and we will live through much harder things going forward. So what did these projects that we found, what did they all do? Our 5 finalists, our grand prize winner, what did they do? They used a moment of crisis as an opportunity to do something different. They were able to think about the resources they had within their community and use it differently. How do you do that? Think creatively, right? They were able to build collaborative relationships inside and outside city government. And finally, they prioritized the vulnerable populations. We really want to be able to have an impact on people who need it most. So, just to give you an idea of the types of projects that we were looking at, the grand prize winners over the last 3 cycles. The first one was focused on road safety in Africa, helping school children have a safer journey to the schools that they go to. Traffic deaths are horrific in Africa. This was a very small project, actually, in size. They looked for accidents happening around school areas. They pinpointed that with big data. And then they installed very simple interventions, inexpensive, and yet it made an enormous difference in the number of accidents that were happening that were reduced by 40%. This has now been scaled up to 9 plus cities throughout sub-Saharan Africa. The second project that we had was actually on sustainable food production in Rosario, in Argentina. So a lot of what you talked about today, NbS, this was very much a project that really looked at that. It was an urban agriculture project that came out of the city's economic crisis. It was created to help local communities with food insecurity. They were able to create their own food, feed their families, and now it has actually become the cornerstone of their climate resilience work. So that project was 20 years in the making. Long-term impact for the communities that all of these folks live in. And the final one, the one that we had for this last cycle, was called Todos al Parque, which was a 10-year plus parks program in the city of Barranquilla in Colombia. What did they do? They prioritized green space. They invested in it. And what they ended up having was being able to provide green spaces for 93% of their residents within an 8-minute walk of their home. Huge. Well, what I wanted to talk about is to say that innovation happens everywhere, including here in India. I will say that in our last 3 cycles, we've actually had finalists every time from India. So just to say that urban innovation, which this whole room, all of you are innovators, you've proven that innovation is happening at all scales within and across India. This project that was in our first cycle was out of Pune, the Swatch project, which basically focused on the solid waste management crisis in the city. The city did not have a formal waste management system. What happened? They partnered with a fully member-owned cooperative, waste pickers cooperative, made up of almost primarily women. So giving women in these communities dignified livelihoods that also addressed a huge city service problem. Second one, out of Ahmedabad, Women's Action Towards Climate Resilience for the Urban Poor. This was a project conducted by the Mahila Housing Trust. It's an NGO that focuses on climate resilience. What did it do? We all know across the country, everyone has been dealing with extreme heat, flooding, other climate impacts. This group basically went and worked in slums in Ahmedabad by empowering and training and centering women as climate champions for their communities. And finally, the one in this last cycle came out of Odisha State from the Senate, where they responded to the crisis that happened during the pandemic and the national lockdown that happened across India, the world's largest, by creating an emergency jobs program that focused on essentially creating climate resilient infrastructure. And they used it essentially sort of as an urban jobs program for the urban poor. This one happened within weeks of the lockdown because they knew that if they couldn't get money to people, they would literally be done. So I wanted to share with all of you that we have just launched our 4th cycle. The theme for 2023-2024 is called Accelerating Momentum for Climate Ready Communities. We all know that the window for being able to keep global temperatures at the 1.5 degrees Celsius is narrowing. We are really looking for projects that can meet the scale of the challenge by increasing their scope, scale, and speed at which these projects are happening. So that's what we're looking for. We are looking for projects that cross all sectors. No limitations on that. And we are looking for, it can be not only cities, it can be NGOs, it can be universities, it can be businesses, it can be public-private partnerships. We hope you will consider helping us publicize this and or applying yourselves. What do you win? $250,000 for the grand prize winner. The other 4 finalists all receive $25,000 each. This is a moment to be able to promote your work. That, in some ways, is the most important thing we want to be able to show us to provide beacons of examples for innovation that's happening. So please join us. Consider applying and join us for the celebration of learning event if you end up becoming a finalist. Thank you.
Thank you, Timmy, and thank you everyone for attending today. I think it's been really helpful, learning from all of you, all the work that's been happening, what you've been doing. Just a few announcements before we close. The CityFix Labs, which we launched in the previous session, applications are open if any of you would like to apply. We're looking for solutions in wastewater treatment and groundwater recharge. Apart from that, like we said in this session, we've launched our online compendium. Please feel free to visit our site. It's NbS India, the number 4. We have resources up online. We have the case study compendium online as well. Again, if you would like to share your case for the compendium, please do get in touch with us. And finally, yes, if there are any researchers in here who are interested in the research program, like I said, the RFPs will go online this week, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you for attending Connect Grow. It's been great having you all here. Thank you.